Good afternoon, everyone. I, Ankit, on behalf of NEN and Wadhwani Foundation, would like to invite you all for this webinar and also introduce our expert, Mr. Vivek Bhargava, CEO of iProspectCommunicate2. iProspectCommunicate2 has evolved into one of the largest search and social media specialist organization in India. It also helps search agencies in Europe and US to become more profitable and flexible by providing search offshore services. Vivek has spent the last 10 years guiding the digital advertising strategies of companies such as MTV, Merrill Lynch, ICICI Bank, Reliance in both Indian and global markets. Vivek has traveled to more than 40 countries on various consulting and project assignments and lived in Dubai for 2 years. Vivek is passionately committed to iProspectCommunicate2's mission of being the biggest contextual advertising firm in the engineering markets and leading offshore contextual advertising. Before I hand over the floor to Vivek, a quick note to all our attendees. You will all be on mute. You may ask questions by typing in the panel provided. Our expert will answer the questions after his presentation. Over to you, Vivek.
So dear friends, thanks for taking your time out for this afternoon. I hope I can share some tips on the approach one should take on social media. So I think social media has evolved a lot in the last 10 years, last 6-7 years, and today it's playing a role across the breadth and width of an organization. So it started off with where people were using digital for only customer acquisition, but now social media has actually gone way beyond customer acquisition, but is also helping organizations across information dissemination, community building, and the works. So what I thought was, through this webinar, I'll try to take you guys through on how one should approach social media, and especially how should one plan for it so that they can sustain it over a long period of time. Yeah, Ankit. So just go to the next slide, Ankit. Yeah. So little background on Communicate2 and iProspect. So iProspect is one of the largest performance marketing firms in the world, probably the largest performance marketing company in the world. It's a part of Aegis Media, and Communicate2 has been there for the last 15 years. About 140 people. We focus mainly on the enterprise market, and we have always had this consulting approach to large enterprises. So we work with PCS, ClearTrip, Travelocity, ICICI Bank, ICICI Lombard kind of firms, and we help them on their digital endeavors. So where search, analytics, conversion optimization, social media, content production, creation, etc., the services that we provide to them. Okay, so these are some of the clients that we work with. So as you can see there, we have a lot of clients in different sectors, in the financial sector, in the travel sector, working in the lifestyle sector, like metro shows and fashion review kind of clients. We also handle the whole of News Corp, so Star Plus, Star World, and the works. So it's mainly focused on the enterprise market, and the challenges of social media are very different, because it's just not about having a Facebook page or having a Twitter ID. It's about using social media to meet a certain business objective that the organization may have. So let me take you through how one should plan a social media strategy and what are the different objectives that social media strategy can meet for you guys. Yeah, Ankit, next slide. Okay, so let me start off with digital if you take. So I think when digital started off, about 10-12 years back, most of digital was focused on customer acquisition. So every single platform has a strength, and I think search had the predominant strength of acquiring customers, because it had two abilities. One is you could target an ad based on the intent of the user. So the person is searching for a fridge or a car or a washing machine, and you could show him an ad of that particular product that he was searching for. Plus, you would only pay if somebody clicked on that ad. So automatically it was not only targeting intent, but it was only charged if the user was eliciting action towards that product. So from a customer acquisition point of view, that was a beautiful thing, and that's the reason the search industry grew from nothing to $40 billion totaling today, and making Google one of the largest companies in the world. So what has happened over the last 3-4 years, digital was not very good in brand building, because there are 2-3 things that conventional media delivered which digital was not able to deliver 5 years back. One of the things was that conventional media obviously had reach. Digital 5 years back did not have reach. But in the last 5 years, today, the number of internet users have crossed 120 odd million. The mobile phone users have become 850 million. In just terms of social media itself, Facebook has 50 million plus subscribers. And think of it like this, the total circulation of all English language newspapers in India is only 30 odd million. So the number of Facebook users in India have already crossed the total English user subscription base in the country. So reach is coming. The other thing that digital lacked was frequency. So now what has happened is that things like remarketing, social media has allowed frequency to happen. So where a person can be shown the same ad or different ads, the same user can be shown 5 or 6 instances of that ad, which wasn't possible earlier. And last thing which conventional media offered was the ability to give a full page ad or show a multimedia experience of an ad unit. So YouTube to a great extent has solved that problem. So today you can actually have a pre-roll, mid-roll, you can take a home page takeover of YouTube. So the 3 things that conventional media delivered, which digital lacked, was reach, frequency, and duration of multimedia ad exposure have been plugged in. So it's become now today a very effective brand building platform. And today a lot of the companies we work with are using digital for brand building initiatives. So this is where social media starts coming in. So what happened was the search was a very effective tool for customer acquisition, but organizations had to use a lot of other tools on digital which were more from an information dissemination point of view and engagement point of view. So let's say, you know, a firm wants to educate its prospects towards understanding what a mutual fund is. So let's say one of our partners is DSV BlackRock, and we found that number of people searching for what is mutual fund was actually more than the mutual fund word itself. And there were 4 times more users searching for what is mutual fund. So we set a series of 20 videos and we put them on YouTube. And today if you go to YouTube and search for mutual fund, we're ranking that video #1 globally. So today we've been able to get 250,000 video views for these 20 videos, and now we've dubbed the videos in Gujarati and Hindi also. So if you take from information dissemination point of view, Twitter, YouTube have become very, very effective platforms for most of the large enterprises. So the key out here is that every single platform has a key strength. So like Twitter and YouTube has a key strength of information dissemination. So it's important that we use these tools for the key strength that they have. And you know, I've always had partners who come to me and say, can you use Twitter for customer acquisition? I say, sure you can, but it's like you're using the wrong tool, right? At the end of the day, key strength of Twitter is not customer acquisition. If you really want to do customer acquisition, then you should use search. But if you want to use Twitter, then information dissemination should be your key objective. So as you go further in that, now community building and engaging existing customers or new customers, I think the platforms that help in community building. So the top 3 platforms with this obviously is Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google+. And each of these platforms have a key strength. The biggest benefit of these platforms is that you can actually build a community of your prospects, have a one-to-one conduit built to them, and then you don't pay anything additional for communicating with them. So generally, most of the other paid platforms, what happens is that every time you want to communicate with the prospect, if you're using paid media, then you're going to pay every single time. But once you have a community on any of these social platforms like Google Plus or Facebook, then further communication with those prospects is something which is inexpensive or is free. The only thing is that it's important that you can build an engagement with them in such a manner, when you post something, it goes on the wall. So this is where this whole concept of edge rank comes in, that if you have, let's say, 500 people who are following you, when you post something, only a certain percentage of them is going to see that post. It all depends on which of those 500 people are engaging with you. And this is where I'm going to lead the next part of the seminar, webinar, which is going to be focused on how to engage the target audiences with content, and content becomes the key strength. The next part of this becomes, ORM, because if you take today, whatever somebody searches on Google or any search engine, that is what they're thinking at that moment of time. So it is the closest, man has ever come to creating a mind-reading machine. But if you take from the point of view of social media actions, whatever somebody does, they share it on social media. So if Google is a database of intentions, then social media is a database of actions. So basically, imagine that you know what the world is thinking if you understand and follow what they are searching for, and If you follow what they're doing, then you know what the world is thinking and what the world is doing, which can help you in a lot of business decisions. So this is where it leads to consumer insights, market trends, and helping the organization across various functions. So let's say you are planning to launch a product. Now you have an option either to put a Bluetooth in it or put NFC in it. Now, depending on the number of searches happening, you can actually predict that how many people are searching for a 2 SIM card phone or an iPod with FM. So based on the search trends, you can actually know that what is the demand for a certain product that you're planning to launch. So I think now with the user base that is there on the internet across various countries, I think it's increasingly organizations are going to use this data both from search and social media to actually predict what kind of products they should develop, how they should go about providing customer service, what is the core differentiation they would like to promote and communicate vis-a-vis their competitors, and all these insights are going to come. So if you look at an overall digital strategy, digital can help across all these 5-6 areas, and there are some parts of these areas where social media plays a very important role. So if you just take information dissemination, consumer trends, and community building, there is no other way out but to use social media platforms. So now what are the common things that one should do when they plan a social media strategy? So we come to this thing, how should we once start a social media journey? I think this is the most important part. I've had a lot of partners who come to us and they want to do social media, but they're not very clear what they want to use social media for. I think it's very important to define the business objective of an organization, what they want to achieve through social media. So social media is a means to an end. It's not an end by itself. So it's not that you go back to your management and say that, yes, I was not on Facebook earlier, now I am, and my objective was to get on Facebook. The objective is, this is the business challenge we face, this is what we want to achieve. How can we leverage a different social media platform to achieve the business objective? So I think let's take a normal approach. If you want to use social media to engage with your target audiences, either prospects or customers, increase the cross-sell and upsell to existing customers, and engage with prospects and convert them into customers. And if that is a business objective you want to start off with, then we can take an example and then move forward with it. So this is the core of any social media endeavor. So I think it's got a typo. It should say content is the core to all digital endeavors. So what I framed this entire webinar where I've focused on the importance of content creation. So let me give you a real background on why I feel content creation is very, very core for any digital strategy. Generally, if you take in conventional media, you had one message to be given to 20 million people, and you would do your entire targeting based on demographics. Unfortunately, there was no other way out. That's the reason all of demographic targeting is what conventional media can achieve. Digital has an advantage. Certain groups of people give you a lot more business. So they say now 20% of the people give you, of your customers give you 80% of their revenues. In that also there is 2% of the customers who give you 50% of their revenues. So it's very important that you identify that core group. So what you want to start off with is a very simple thing. Who's your dream target group? Who's that 3%, 5% of your target group that can give you almost 50% of your business? So give you a little bit of stats. There are only 32 million active PAN card holders in India. There are only 2 million cars sold every year in India. There is only 1 million people who have declared income of more than 10 lakh rupees a year. So if you take categories like lifestyle, categories like travel, financial services, all these categories, the total target audience for most companies is limited to 20-30 million people. These 20-30 million people is further divided into people who go abroad for vacations, people who have platinum credit cards, people who have a high-end car, people who live in downtown of metros. So you can actually divide the groups further into people who will be your dream target group. Which are those 5% or 2% of Indian users who can give you 50, 70%, 80% of the revenues for the industry or the company you're in. And that should be your goal. How do we identify that group? So we actually have brainstorming sessions with our partners and have them narrow it down to one target group who's going to give them maximum of business. So let me give you an example. One of the customers, one of the partners that I had worked with, they were targeting people for IIM courses which were meant for for building your Excel spreadsheets for financial services. So if you're in the finance function, how to use Excel to save a few hours every day. Now, most of the customers they had were coming from IT companies working in the finance department. And our whole thing was we narrowed down that niche audience to this extent that every single person who's working in the finance function of an IT company would see the ad. And the ad would say, what if the skills we taught you could allow you to go home 2 hours early every day? Then you save 25% of your time and you can go home. The certain tasks you have to complete by the end of the day, and you can go home 2 hours early every single day. And that was something that appealed to them. Then we found out that, okay, what are the other things that work for them? That you'll get a promotion, you'll get the next job, you'll go to shift into a better company. And once you identify the right target group, then you know what kind of content would actually sell to them. So then the ad content could be that, a simple 5 tricks in Excel sheet to save you half an hour every day. So a lot of people who are in that function would then want to consume that content. Next slide, Ankit. So once you have the target group ready, that this is the target you want to engage with. Now this target could be children, this target could be housewives in a affluent home, this target could be CEOs of companies, this target could be anybody you want to target with. But it's important to have the target in focus before you start with anything else. Then you have to ask a question to yourself, what is the content that will engage them? So if it's a housewife, would she be interested in recipes? If it's a child, would he be interested in games and applications? If it's a person who's a CEO of a company, would be interested in sorry, interviews with other CEOs of companies in the same vertical. All points of time you will ask them, what is the content that would engage them? Because you are not a conventional publisher, you don't need to engage 20 million people at the same time. You can actually find out, okay, if you want to reach out to 200,000 people in India, what is the kind of content that you think will engage them? And that is where your key is. If you can identify your target audience right, and then you can identify what kind of content will engage them, the social media strategy becomes very simple, because there is nothing like a social media strategy that allows you to engage with your target audiences. So if you get your content strategy right, then social media strategy becomes easy. But if you don't have your content and target audience right, then it's increasingly difficult to do any kind of social media. So once you've known that this is what the person is interested in, so let's say, suppose you narrow down that I want to create videos for recipes for housewives or students who are abroad and they've just joined a university and they want to learn basic things to how to cook a dal or how to make rice or whatever XYZ. You have to see what they're searching for. So when you put that how to recipes, you'll say, okay, there are 500,000 people searching for how to make dal, 200,000 people searching for how to make paneer mukhanwala, 50,000 people searching for how to make bhindi, and only 500 people are searching for how to make tinda. I am not very fond of tinda, so I give it the least amount of searches. But the fact of the matter is, you can go to Google Traffic Estimator, put in the exact keyword that for which you are trying to create the content for, and you would actually know that if you were to first rank, what content you should be producing first. So if you are producing content, then producing content for paneer mukhanwala and dal is better than creating content for how to create tinda, because the number of people searching for these categories is going to be more than the others. So it's very important that once you identify the target group, identify what kind of content you want to create, then it's very, very critical that you create content which a lot of people are searching for. Because even on paid as well as for organic, if you create content that nobody's searching for, then getting engagements on that content is going to be difficult. Because at the end of the day, people will only consume the content that they're searching for. The other thing that I come across with a lot of partners is content can be produced at one time, but the content plan should be for at least a period of 1 year or so. So if you decided to do recipes, then don't do one recipe and end of story out there. You need to produce probably 26 recipes, release one recipe every 2 weeks, or you're creating health tip videos or videos on diet plans, or creating an app for a mobile phone that is going to help. So one of my friends and I were discussing an idea where let's say the company is into antacid tablets. So can we create an app that will give the calorie count of every single Indian food that exists? So right from dhoklas to, rasam to idli to, Punjabi samosa, what if there were calorie count available for every single Indian food there is? And that would be content given, which is updated on a regular basis by the target audience. Because although a lot of people are interested in Hollywood and cricket, but then there are enough sites which have a lot more content than what you can ever provide in those categories. It's important to take a slightly more niche view, reach out to a slightly niche target audience, provide content which other people don't have, and you can be a leading authority on that content. So it's very important to get a content strategy in place which is slightly longer term oriented, differentiated from all the others guys who have similar content. And once you get that right, then it's easier to plan a social media endeavor. See, the other thing that I find a lot of times people, when they plan a social media endeavor or they plan a digital endeavor, is that they want to get everything perfectly planned. So these are the content plan, this is the target audience I want to reach out to, this is what I'm going to do here, this is what I'm going to do here, and they try to get a perfect blueprint ready. And sometimes the blueprint itself takes them 3 months to create. By the time the blueprint is completed, 3 months have passed, and I'm sure a lot of things in digital change in 3 months. So then what happens is, before you start implementing it, you realize that you're outdated, and then you have to, sort of work on the blueprint again. Again, it takes you, modifying takes you to a few months more. By that time, again, something has changed. So digital is important that what you should do is, you identify that, okay, I want to engage with this target audience. This is the kind of content that they would like to go in for. And it's very important to go live with it. Show the content, get the content ready, get the homepage ready, and go live with it. So it's like taking a compass, knowing the right direction, that means you're walking in the right direction, but then start your journey, take the first step. Because there is nothing like learning on the job. How conventional media works is that once things go out of the door, then it's impossible to change anything. Once the TV campaign goes live or an outdoor campaign goes live, you can't do much to it. Everything is live and you can't make any changes. The fortunate benefit of digital campaigns is once it goes live, you can change it almost every hour. So it's important that you start quickly and then optimize it rather than try to get it perfect. So a lot of people who come with a conventional media background, they try to get a perfect digital strategy in place before they start off. And that is actually the cause of their failure, because they are not able to ever start. Because before they start, something changes. So very important, the advice that I give to our partners is that you should have a compass in your hand. You should start a journey as quickly as possible if you really want to succeed in digital. So now I'm just giving some thoughts which are slightly more bird's eye view thoughts on what a digital strategy should be, and includes all these thoughts are very, very relevant for all social media endeavors also. This is the other idea. So recently I read a book by Jim Collins that talks about companies that grew 10x as compared to other companies in the same vertical. The book is called Great by Choice. And one of the ideas that appealed to me, which I'd like to repeat it out here, is this whole concept of firing bullets and then recalibrating the bullets till the time it hits the mark. But when it hits the mark, then it's very, very critical that you put the entire might of the organization behind their idea and throw the cannonball. So this is an example which has been great, where a lot of companies who were partners with us 5 years back, and they took a small idea, and then when the idea worked, then they put the entire organization's might behind the idea, and today they have really leveraged their ideas to the great thing. I wrote a post on the same topic on clickz.asia, so you get a chance, read the post. It's a pretty interesting post on how one should plan on throwing bullets first and then throwing a cannonball thereafter. And I think this is true for every single digital strategy. This opportunity of firing bullets is there in digital, where you can do a small pilot across any idea that you come across, and the consumers will tell you whether the idea is going to work or not. And the only thing is that you have to be careful that once the idea works, then you have to have the courage and the audacity to then go ahead and follow it up with a cannonball. Because if you keep on firing bullets, then you are not going to leverage the actual benefit of the idea. I think one of the things is that social media is very, very critical, that a lot of things which are offline events and physical events, it's important to find a way to marry social media into the offline and the physical world. So, I was talking to somebody, and suppose there is a concert going on of maybe a Madonna or, a Sonu Nigam or whoever it is. What if Sonu Nigam has sung 50 songs, but he can only, sing 25 songs in that concert? What if he sings the 10 songs of his choice, and he says, out of the rest 40 songs, any 15 songs that the audience polls for, I'll sing those songs the audience chooses. All the people who are in the stadium get a choice, and they get 10 times more vote than a person who's not in the stadium. But even people who are not in the stadium, who can actually listen to the concert live, could actually poll, and Sonu Nigam or a Madonna or a whatever artist is going to sing the song that you want him to sing, and the songs of his choice. Now, these are the kind of things which will actually create engagement that go way beyond the stadium. It talks to millions of other people who are listening to that concert or are playing a role in the decision making. The same thing that is happening on SMSs on shows like Kaun Banega Crorepati and Jhalak Dikhla Ja, the same thing can be done on a real-time basis, where when you put a vote, it actually shows you that this many votes have come positive, this many votes have come negative, because you have a lot more transparency into the whole evaluation process of throwing a contestant out from a reality show or not. And I think with the mobile phones reaching almost on a one-to-one basis, where every single Indian will have a mobile phone, I think it's going to be very, very critical that organizations think how they can use that mobile phone as a very, very social device. And a lot of decision making that they do in terms of customer service, in terms of decision making, in taking surveys, etc., they're using those phones as a device that allows and enables them to reach out to all these target audiences. So the time has definitely come for digital to go physical, and there are a lot of interesting examples globally that have been done. So one of the examples that come to my mind is Nike sponsored something called, so they support Armstrong about their Live Strong thing, where an SMS would be sent to this device, which would be a roller on a street. And whatever messages were being SMSed or tweeted or sent, those messages would be printed physically on the road. So it's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search for, Chalkbot or Nike Chalkbot, CHALKBOT, it's an amazing video that shows you that the messages from all over the world were printed on the road. So when a Tour de France cyclist would go on that road, they would see these messages on the road, and these were actual physical messages that were sent by people to be printed on the road, and they were wonderful. Same thing, something ASICS shoes did, where they took videos of friends and family of the people who were participating. When they would cross certain locations, a big screen would actually play that video. But so that means when a runner would reach that certain location, they would see his or her family saying a few words to that person, and it would be shown to him only when he's crossing that location. So these are kind of things where digital and physical can come together, and social media platforms is the perfect way to do so. So there are cheer applications where you're running a marathon, and whatever friends actually say on social media, the same thing would be read out to you while you're running. So all the cheers that people give, the cheers would be sent to you live on your phone with your headphones when you're running. So there are a lot of opportunities coming up where social media now is moving away from physical internet and going to mobile, and is going into brand engagements at a very physical one-to-one level. These are things that people have to think about when they're thinking of social media endeavors now. There are close to about 100 billion users of the internet today. That users are going to grow from 100 million to 372 million in the next 3 years. So by 2015, there could be about almost 400 million internet users. One has to remember that the total circulation of regional language newspapers is close to 132 million, while English language newspapers is only 32 million. So there are almost 3 to 4 times more number of users who are currently reading non-English newspapers. So the next 300 million users who come on the internet, they're going to be more comfortable with their own regional languages. So it's very, very important that organizations who are thinking of social media, and especially if they're thinking of taking digital physical, have to think multilingual. So India is a country which is not one country, but probably 15, 20 countries with different customs, with different languages, different food habits, different consumer behavior, And it's very important that when you're thinking of a social media strategy, considering that a multilingual strategy is going to be very important, because you can reach out and create content for niche users for a specific region, and conventional media is going to find it very, very difficult to do that, do the same through broadcast media. So when we did these videos for DSP BlackRock, we already dubbed these videos in both Gujarati and Hindi, because you can't actually create videos for investing category and people who invest in mutual funds and stockbroking without dubbing the same videos in Gujarati, because I think that's one community that is very, very active on the stock market. But I think it's very, very important that people start thinking that digital strategies or social media strategies in terms of reaching out to different regional languages, and I think that's the way to go. So that's one key thing to keep in mind, that don't think of a social media strategy based only on English. Definitely create a social media strategy that is going to go way beyond English. And you're going to start with all 10 languages. You can start with 3, 4, depending on the target audience you want to reach out to, wherever you feel that majority of target audience, which language they speak. So in case of mutual fund, they said, okay, Hindi and Gujarati is what they would like to start off with. Yeah, so I think obviously in a 20 minutes after period, one can only cover the broad strategy one should follow on social media. So I would like to summarize my talk that I think repeating how one should plan social media is very simple. One should create that what is the target audience that they would like to engage with, and that target audience should be somebody who can give them most of their revenues. So it could be a smaller target audience, but that's the target audience that should give them maximum of the revenues for their organization, or whatever is the objective they would like to meet. Then they should find out what is the kind of content that will engage that target audience that you have decided to focus on. Find out from different tools like Google Traffic Estimator, what is the total volume of searches happening for that type of content. And you should always create content which is being searched by a lot more people as compared to content which is not being searched by people. And thereafter, you have to be very clear that you have to take a start. You cannot wait for getting the strategy completely right before you take the first step. You have to take the compass and start walking. And thereafter, you have to keep on optimizing it. So you can add target audiences, you can create some innovative content, and I think consumers will give you feedback on what are the steps you should take, because unlike conventional media where you don't get much feedback, digital gives you feedback every hour. Even if a consumer is not giving that feedback to you directly, analytics and a lot of other tools allow you to know what the consumers are liking, what they are not liking. If you put some content up, they get a lot of likes, a lot of content, a lot of comments. They say that this is what you should put in, what you should not put in. So there's a lot of feedback available, and digital is about taking that feedback and constantly trying to improve your strategy. And that's the only way to work on digital. So the role that I think companies like us we play is we act like a Sherpa for you, where we walk with you through your entire social media journey. At times we are 140 people, so we can help and heavy lift certain things that you cannot lift and do on your own. But our job is to, because we've walked to the summit multiple times before, we know exactly where we should rest. We should know, look at the clouds and know it's going to rain or not, if a thunderstorm is going to strike or not, if there is a landslide, what one should do. And these are the things that I think social media journey, even if you walk to the same summit 25 times, every single summit attempt is a new attempt. And only the thing is the experience that we have over the last 15 years of working with different partners, this allows us to be more prepared, but it's still full of risks. And it's like climbing the Mount Everest. Even if you climb the same mountain 20 times, every time it's going to be a new journey and it's going to throw new challenges. It's just that your past experiences will help you understand the challenges slightly faster than other people who have never faced a challenge before. And that's what our role is, to act like a Sherpa and help you climb the summit.